Good afternoon. Nice to be with you. As always, I'm here in Virginia on a very rainy, kind of yucky day, the kind of day that makes you appreciate the days that are sunny and bright. I have just come back from Off Grid with Doug and Stacy's Homesteading Life Conference in Missouri, in Vandalia, Missouri. It was a fantastic event as usual, about 1,200 people. Eager to learn and eager to do good things. And I'm just so happy to be part of that crowd because even though I'm not officially homesteading right now, I do a whole lot. I just don't milk a cow or goats or raise chickens for anything other than eggs and recycling right now. But it's fun to be part of that crowd. And I'm looking forward to one day having more things added when we leave our property and go somewhere else. Anyway, all that said, today's guest is someone who I enjoy seeing at all of these conferences, the homesteading ones in particular. But before I introduce my friend Malerie, I want to talk a minute about something really exciting that will be starting in about 2 more weeks. I've been inspired by one of the YouTubers that I watch who does some read-along books and book reviews. I like to do book reviews, and I need to add a bunch. But I want to do a similar thing. So because I have a long list of books that I think are really useful, important, beneficial, informative, and encouraging, we're going to start a book club where we read together and discuss the books that we are reading. And to do this, we're going to start out with this book, Eat by Faith, from our friend Kat Owens. Kat Owens is the owner of Eat by Faith, the website, and she has spoken at several of our God's Good Table conferences now. She's become a dear friend. We just love she and her family. They're just beautiful. So we're going to start by reading her book, Eat by Faith. I'll be heading up to Maine 2 weeks from tomorrow, and while there, I'm going to record several chapters of this, and then we can discuss them together. So Erin will put up a link for this book in our show notes and on our website so that you can purchase your own copy, and then we'll be able to get going and enjoy this book first. Then we have about, 50 more to do after that. It'll be fun. Okay. Hello, Carmen. It's nice to see you again. I saw Carmen also at the Homesteading Life Conference, and Tam Bray, who's not here yet. But we do have Malerie. And so Malerie, I meant to say, okay, you're unmuted now, and here you are. Okay, I want to pronounce, I always just call you Malerie. You're Malerie McCormick Knopf? Knope. See, I usually double check. I thought I was going to get that one really wrong, but I'm glad you've corrected me on that. Knope.
With a P.
With a P.
Yeah, Knope.
Okay, got it.
He's pronounced, yeah.
You'll forgive me, right?
Oh, yes, I'm used to it. Usually when someone says it wrong, I'm just like, yeah, that's it. We move on.
Yeah. Well, it might be comforting to know that even Siri on my own devices greatly mispronounces my last name, Diaz. It becomes something like I don't remember. It's not even the Spanish pronunciation. It doesn't matter. Anyway, Malerie, I think I know I met you first at a Doug and Stacy event in Hannibal, Missouri several years ago.
Correct.
Maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And since then, you have started your business, Barefoot Microgreens. And we're going to talk a lot about that. But the main things that I am eager to talk to you about are just how we can do it all. We can't really truly do it all, but we can do all of what is the most important. And I think you are doing that just as we did that years ago. And so I thought by bringing you on, we'd be able to be an encouragement to many other people, provide ideas, and even just the nudge that some people need to think, wow, I really can do this. Yeah. So first, let's talk a little bit about you and your family and your business.
Okay.
So Oh, I like this photo of you and the boys. This is from a few years ago, I think.
Yes, that was at the Okie Homestead conference.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what you do at home and with your family. There's your husband, Corey.
Yep.
And you do all kinds of good things on your farmstead. So I know from your story that you have not always homesteaded, raise your own food and all of that.
Mhm.
And yet here you are. We'll bring up some more slides a little bit later.
Yeah.
But first, let's just talk about the impetus for you to get started, even just living this simple, literally down to earth life.
Yes. So our journey started probably 8 years ago. I myself have always been into health and wellness. And once we started learning about the food system, and once we started having kids, like it was super important to us to nourish them in all ways, not just food, in all ways, which so I think that's kind of what started. When you start your family, you want the best for them. And then we we weren't always good. We had our early 20s and 30s when health wasn't important. And I would just say after we started having kids, we started taking more control over health and really diving into it. And that's where we kind of got into the homestead thing. We started attending conferences. We started learning a little bit at a time. And then each year that we would attend those, we would come back and we would implement the things that seemed like they would align with us best. And then it just kind of evolved from there. After I guess we started out with goats. I think that's what everybody starts out with and quickly realizes that's not the thing.
No, you usually start with chickens and move on up to goats.
Okay, yes. We probably had a few chickens as well, but quickly realized that they were more of a pet and a nuisance than anything else. So then we had our egg-laying chickens, and then we also do about 60 meat birds a year. And we process them all. We raise them. We process them all as a family. And then we also raise sheep. Our boys absolutely love sheep. So we just learned actually how to butcher our own sheep this last year, and we did that as a family as well. So right now, that's all we have on our farm. We have about a 5-acre farm currently. We'd love to purchase more land, hopefully in the future, and kind of, expand out. But right now, that's kind of where we're at. And during our journey, my son, Gavin, he is 14 now. He was in public school, and we ended up pulling him after his 2nd grade year and started homeschooling him. I didn't know anything about homeschooling. I went to public school, and there really isn't a huge homeschool community in our area. So it was kind of scary, but when I first made up my mind and told Corey about it, he was like, yes. So I was kind of shocked. I'm like, okay, here we go.
You expected a little more pushback than that.
Yeah. No, Corey's very supportive. Usually, no matter what I bring up, he says either yes or let's figure it out and see what we can do. But that has been, that has been like the best decision that we probably have ever made. And then my son, Dylan, he is 8 years old, and he will never know what public school is like. Yeah.
Was there something about the public school setting that made you go, wait a minute, we can't do this?
Mm-hmm. To be honest, there was something that happened with Gavin, and it was probably a lot of things going on. So, we just recently had Dylan, his brother was at home. I was still working away from home at this point. So my mom was here watching Dylan, and she's the one that always watched Gavin too. So, Gavin having to leave his brother, having to leave his Grammy, and, just be away from his family.
I understand.
He emotionally got him, and there was several mornings trying to get him in the vehicle. It was rough. He was crying. He didn't want to go. His stomach was upset, and that's when it hit me like, oh my gosh, this isn't what it's supposed to be. We're not supposed to have kids just to ship them off all day long and not be with us.
I agree. And that was a conclusion that we came to when Erin was, by the time she was 5, I knew I just didn't have it in me to send her off to public school. Mm-hmm. We delayed and finally sent her to a private kindergarten nearby. And I was very active in that. But then it came around to first grade, and what are we going to do? And we can't afford to send, at that time, 2 kids to private Christian school. And I just didn't know what to do. And then I met this crazy homeschooling mama, and I do mean nuts. She was nuts. But it introduced the idea of homeschooling to me. And so like you, I'm just thinking, this is not how I want our family life to be. And we don't want for the kids in the school to be the primary influence of our children as they're growing up, right?
100%, yeah.
Yeah. And in the last 35 years or so, we've also seen more and more that the influence from the administrations and many of the teachers are not an influence at all that we want. No. And so homeschooling is really I think it's the best answer above and beyond anything else anyway.
I agree. Yeah. I love when, people think homeschool kids won't have the socialization and they'll be socially awkward. And I'm like, that socialization that happens in public school is not what
it's not positive. There's nothing good about it. You get so much negative, but real life is not sitting in a classroom with 25 or 30 other kids your own age at a desk doing, rote work.
Busy work.
Yeah, it's not that at all. And then being out on the playground and in the hallways and in the lunchroom with kids who are coming with a lot of baggage and a lot of bad ideas, and they're influencing your kids.
Right. Yeah. There was a couple instances that happened, unfortunately, in the bathroom with my son Gavin that we kind of found out about. And he got to the point where he would literally hold his stool until he got home from school because there was bullying that was going on in the bathroom.
Wow.
So that I think might have been the ultimate straw. And then some of the things that Gavin was telling us that was being said was like, oh my gosh, in 2nd grade, mind blowing.
Not okay at any age, but yeah, it's coming younger and younger and so very discouraging and disrupting and damaging.
Oh,
There's so
sure.
much. We even did 2 years of private school after my husband had his massive heart attack a few years back. And that had some positive aspects. It's a very solid, good Christian school, but you still have people there who are coming out of the public school systems with kids who are already negatively impacted, and they're bringing that to the Christian school setting. And my kids were negatively influenced that way as well.
Yeah.
So home is the best place to be, and it's worth giving up an extra income and the convenience of sending them off every day to school. I know you and I agree on that wholeheartedly. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I even, I was still working full time at that point. And, it got to a point where it was so important to us that we were going to make it work. no matter how. So whether, and we're probably not like the typical homeschool family. And not to say that, because that's the great thing about homeschool is you make it work with, your family and how you see fit. So, we don't really mimic public school where you're not sitting down for hours learning out of a book. Like we are very, about learning life skills, and enjoying and getting outdoors instead of being stuck inside. And, if there's something that I don't feel comfortable with teaching them, we can outsource that. So if anybody's watching and wanting to homeschool, don't think that, don't put so much pressure on yourself.
Right.
So when we first started, I did meet with one homeschool family in Florida. I was actually the only other homeschool family that I knew of in our town. And just to kind of, because we didn't know anything about it, just to kind of see how someone else did it. And that was super encouraging to us.
Good.
So, and we just kind of just did it. And, things have changed. We haven't done the same thing from when we started first. We kind of have a curriculum that we like, and we haven't, it's really done really well with us. So we haven't really had to like venture out there, but gosh, we do so much outside of book work that they're learning so much. They've built houses, they've built barns, taking care of animals. Dylan loves to help me in the kitchen, just so much that they're learning. And there's times that I'm like, oh, am I doing enough? And Corey always reminds me that they're going to be absolutely fine.
And they will be. We raised 9 kids this way, and I started out with them at desks and me standing in front of them like a teacher in a classroom because I thought, well, this is how we need to do it. I burned out really fast.
Yeah.
And then we did a Becca video school and then just a Becca. And I thought a Becca was I don't want to be negative totally here, but there were components of the Becca program that I thought were extremely cumbersome and unnecessary. And so just through attending conferences and having interactions with other homeschoolers, and we created a homeschool co-op within our circle of friends, and it expanded. Yeah, you start to learn that you don't have to stand in front of your students at desks and a blackboard. It doesn't have to be all one way. And we became very loose and easy. So there are so many good options now, like Khan Academy for math.
Yes.
And the Bold and the Beautiful for the elementary school.
That's the curriculum that we use for that. And we have used the Khan Academy too. Yes. Love them both. Yes. And at the beginning, Corey and I had to reprocess and rethink. Too, because we're still in that like, oh my gosh, well, we have to sit down and we have to like have so many hours out of the book. And
that's where I was at one time.
Reprogram ourselves too.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way, as our friend Carmen notes. Yeah, when we're trying to do it like that, it's very cumbersome and disheartening, and it just doesn't work well. But that's not how we need to do things.
Right.
So you discovered and came to the point that I did many years ago that we can relax.
Yes.
We can read good books. We can butcher animals and learn about anatomy and physiology. We can take trips and learn about anything and everything, and nature books and on and on. So homeschooling becomes a way of life and something that is very enhancing to the family dynamics.
Yeah.
And you've gotten there.
Yeah. Yes. I definitely agree. We have our challenging moments for sure.
I still have those moments. We still have one, but she's a senior and she chose to take 2 more classes. She could have graduated this year, but she wanted excuse me, to do one more year.
Yeah.
So she is. But yeah, there are challenges, including just getting up in the morning and going and getting it done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But we were in one of the most restrictive states in Pennsylvania. The year that we moved,
Okay.
they lightened it. They made it easier. But then we finished out most of our kids in Virginia, and it was
Okay.
relatively simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're
Luckily in Illinois, it's pretty relaxed, but they're working on making it a little tougher for us. They want to get involved. So we're going to see how that ends up. But
yeah, we'll just be vocal, be part of the
yes.
voices that need to be heard.
Yeah.
As we need to with anything related to life in general, I think. But so you started to homeschool before you started homesteading?
I feel like it kind of happened together.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. It definitely kind of happened together. And, I think we got encouraged, of course, going to the homesteading conferences. Most families are homeschool families, and also getting to visit with them. And kind of that's where the idea kind of popped in my head, because like I said, it's not many homeschool families in the area. And so, yeah, I think it kind of organically kind of just happened together.
That's neat.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. We were homesteading before we were homeschooling, but once we started homeschooling, it just seemed so natural. After I got over I got to stand in front of the blackboard and teach these kids idea.
Yeah.
Once we got over that, then it became very natural, and we combined all of life into just one big adventure and experience, whereby all of our kids have just thrived. Several have gone to college or trade schools. Some have just gotten married, and I say they've gotten married and are parents themselves and now homeschooling. So everyone in our family has really done well.
Yeah. We just say, we're not priming them for college. We're not priming them to go get we just want them to be healthy and happy, and wherever that leads them, as long as they're healthy and happy, then, we've done our job, I guess.
I agree. We add to that responsible and productive, I guess. Responsible and kind. Kind is something that's difficult to develop when you're in a public school setting where you've got a lot of negativity. So
absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So, but then I'm assuming that your boys are helping you on the homestead. You already mentioned butchering and planting and growing. And do you still have goats? I don't remember.
We got rid of their goats, but we actually just borrowed 2 of our friends' goats, and they're out in the chicken area to kind of mow down the grass.
Yeah,
but we're not borrowing them currently. So
you're not milking any animals, right?
We are not. We do have a family local to us that we get our raw milk from, and we actually just learned that as a family about a month ago. They went on a trip and they didn't have anybody to farm set. So we're like, teach us how to milk a cow and we'll do it. So that was a skill we all learned together. We milk 2 cows twice a day. So it was fun.
So does that mean that you might acquire a dairy animal yourself?
My husband was interested in it. But I think after he found out how much work it is, that's one of those things where you can't do everything. So if you can have a community that does certain things, that's kind of where we're at.
That is good. But let me tell you that I milked 1 cow once a day. And we have a large family. That was enough. That was enough for us. And when we were going on vacations, I let the calf be with the mama.
Okay.
So the mama would be with the calf half of the day anyway, and then I'd milk, and then they'd reunite. But if we went on a trip, they just stayed together.
They stay together. Okay.
Yeah. So there
Yeah.
still needs to be oversight, but it doesn't need to be 2 cows twice a day or 1 cow
Okay.
twice a day. 1 cow once a day works.
Okay.
So
We'll
maybe
we'll see. Yeah.
we'll check in with you later and see.
Right. Yes. Yeah. We have experience, so we know what we're doing if we did.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. But that's neat. But what is especially special is to watch families like your own learn that you can do all of these things and you don't have to be set in this mold that our current culture wants to put us all in, which is not a good one.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about just helping your kids learn to be not true thinkers in the common sense of the word, but truly free thinkers so that they can think outside of the box, make good decisions, make informed decisions. Unlike, I know that most of our young people today growing up in the current system would say that they are free thinkers, but I don't see it that way. I see them as being their thoughts being formed, their opinions being formed by others, and kind of a rebellious nature being instilled in them. They think they're free thinkers, but they're not.
No way. No, they're definitely being told how to think, what to think. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah. I just can't imagine taking my boys to a place like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I can't either. And I'm thankful that thus far all of our children have chosen to homeschool our grandchildren, especially for reasons like that. So we all want to be their primary influence and make it a positive thing instead of a negative.
Maureen, I don't know if you know, I have a stepdaughter. I'm trying to think if you did you meet her? She was at Doug and Stacy's conference last year.
I don't think I met her. I was aware, but I don't think I met her.
Okay. So I have a stepdaughter. I call her my daughter. I've been in her life since she was 5. And she has a 5-year-old. So I have a grandbaby. So I'm Mimi.
Okay.
And then
I am too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I just found out she's pregnant again. And anyway, she has been inspired to homeschool Charlotte, our 5-year-old granddaughter. So I'm so happy. And we didn't push that on her at all. She just, she can see the difference in kids and our kids and how they act. And they're, like you said, being kind and just really good, well-rounded kids. And this from her watching us, that has inspired her to want to do the same thing. So we're pretty proud of her.
That is wonderful.
Yes.
I almost tossed a picture in that included the two of them.
Yeah. Yes.
But I stopped just short of that. But I'm really encouraged by that because I love to see more homeschooling families and people trying to do things well. We at God's Good Table are not necessarily about homesteading and homeschooling, but we are all about helping families to learn how to live their best life. And of course, we're Christians, so we want to encourage people to be healthy in all aspects: emotional, spiritual, physical. And we just find that the best way to do that is to have our children home with us, learning and living life, doing life together. So. But for our viewers, they're thinking, and many of them who have no experience here, they're thinking, homesteading? Oh, I don't think I can do that. Homeschooling? Oh, and that's why we're talking about this, because this can be such a blessing to a family. I did not do everything right. I have a lot of things I've had to answer for and apologize for. But overall, our life was and remains good.
Yeah.
And very different than it would have been had we not chosen to homeschool and homestead. and homesteading for us just sort of happened by accident.
Okay.
But it evolved. It started with George coming home with chickens in the back of his truck one day. And then pretty soon I'm buying a dairy cow from a good friend who had one for sale. And I'm thinking, okay. And it evolved from there.
Yeah.
But my point is really just how when we're all working together for these goals, it becomes a very doable and beautiful thing. It's not always nice to go out on a day like today with wind and rain and nastiness, but you go out and you get the job done and you appreciate what you have, the fruits of your labor.
Yes. Everything is so much more rewarding. And
Yes.
It
Absolutely.
really is. Yeah.
Well, and then part of your homesteading started to evolve into, wait, before I bring that up, we have to talk about the first part of the title of your business. And we're talking homeschooling, homesteading, and home business.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, you're barefoot, which I'm 100% behind you and with you on that.
Yeah.
I'm barefoot every chance I can get. Thankfully, not just before we came on when I accidentally stepped in the doggy doo in the car.
That's part of it.
Yeah, that is part of it.
Yeah.
But the home business and so being barefoot and connecting with the earth's energy and the energy from the sun, and that helps for us to be physically healthy. But I think there's a mental aspect, a mental emotional aspect to that as well.
Yeah.
And
I was barefoot way before I learned the benefits of it. So I just knew. I mean, there was just something in me that was like, I feel better not having shoes on, Yeah. I even got married barefoot.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I wish I had a wedding picture. I would toss that up.
Yes. I looked a little different. That's when I still colored my hair and like all the, things. Yes. Yeah. But no, I'm the barefoot girl for sure. And when I was thinking of a name for my business, it just was perfect. So I would much rather be barefoot than being disconnected for sure.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I do wear my wool slippers in the house to keep my toesies warm, but otherwise I try to be out in the bare feet. But then the microgreens. So now we're homesteading, homeschooling, home business.
Yeah.
Your microgreens started out as just kind of a hobby, something you did in your own home for your own family's benefit.
Correct. Yes. Again, attending the conferences where I learned about microgreens and the benefits and how easy they were to grow.
Yeah.
And when I came home and grew them for the first time and my kids were eating them and I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Giving them something that's really nourishing, easy to grow. It was incredible. So I learned about microgreens probably 5 years prior to even starting my business. So I dabbled in it a little bit, never even thought about, at that point, I was not even thinking about starting a business. I've never had any business, anything. And, it did get kind of hard trying to work away from home Monday through Friday and homeschooling. It just didn't flow good. And then it just started feeling like, it really started, even though my mom was home with the boys and they were safe, they were in a good hands. It really started just pulling on mama's heartstrings that like, I'm missing out and I'm the one that's supposed to be there with them. And we are supposed to be doing life together. And at that point, I was determined. I didn't know what it was yet, but I was determined to come home and start my own business just because I've always worked. I've always had a job since I was 16. So the thought, and if there is a mom out there that can come home and be a full-time mom, that is wonderful. I just was like, I just don't want to put us in a financial situation by just completely quitting my job. And I like to keep busy, and
Yeah.
and so, you know, I just was like, okay, if I can find something, maybe do like a side job to help bring in income, it could be something we could all do together as a family. And microgreens just kind of aligned with everything for me. The health benefits, you know, I'm into the health and the wellness. And starting the business, I learned that you could start it with a very small investment, and then you can kind of gradually grow as you want to, or you can kind of keep it a side hustle, and then it just kind of has taken off from there. I actually took a microgreens course, and I learned all about it while I was working away from home and homeschooling. I just thought, why not throw something else in the middle of it all to do? But I was determined that this was gonna work. Again, like I said, I don't have any business skills. I didn't know what I was doing on that side of it. Never ran a business. And I had no confidence whatsoever. My whole life, I have had really low self-esteem, low confidence, but I just kept in my mind, like, the reason why I'm doing this was for the boys. And that kind of kept me going, definitely when I was struggling through some things, like trying to make it work and not sure what I was doing, but I was going for it. And I asked Corey again, like, what do you think of this, me purchasing this course? And he was like, yeah, sure. And like, I did it, and I didn't look back, and I just like moved forward from there. It took me I went through the course. It was an 8-week course. And then I went through it a second time. And that second time I was doing it, I started implementing the things little by little. And started getting the equipment, learning all the growing trials and errors. And, you know, you can grow microgreens just in a small tray, and there's not a lot of issue. But once you start growing at a higher scale, like, you need to control the environment and all the things. So we really, I just started. Oh, I love that picture, Dylan. He has the best grin ever. He still has that grin. Yes.
He does. And he's surrounded by trays of microgreens.
Yes. And oh my gosh, when I first started, the best part was just seeing them go by and pick those off and just eat them. It was so funny. But yeah, so I just started implementing things a little at a time. And it took me about a year to maybe a year and a half of really hustling hard before I could drop down to working my job away from home 3 days a week so I could scale up my microgreens business from there. And then it's just kind of went all different directions from that point. So I do grow and sell microgreens, which is what I started out to farmers markets, coffee shops, health food stores, and restaurants. And then I have a private chef that I kind of partner with, and he orders specialty microgreens, and that's really fun. So that's kind of where it got started. And then, of course, my local community. And finally, after like the year and a half, it just kind of gradually happened to about 2 years. I finally left my job away from home. And that was so hard for me.
It was hard to leave the job.
It was hard to leave the job. A lot of people hate their jobs. This wasn't a job that I hated. I loved my boss. I loved my coworkers, but I love my children more. And that's where I need to be. And so it was really hard for me. I knew that's what I wanted, but it was hard. And so the transition, it didn't take long, and I was happy to be home. I was over being sad about leaving my coworkers. But so once I started working the farmers markets is when we got the idea we now have microgreen grow kits.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the people were like, well, I kind of want to learn how to grow the microgreens myself. So we're like, okay. So we brainstormed and we put together a really wonderful microgreen grow kit that allows people to grow their own superfood right at home. Doesn't take a lot of space. and it's super nutrient dense, and, you just feel good about growing your own food. So we kind of expanded in that direction. And then now I also help people start their own microgreens businesses too.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's really neat. Now, how much do you sell? What volume do you sell? And I know you have different aspects. You've got your microgreens that you're harvesting and selling directly, like to the farmers markets or the chef. And then you've got your grow kits. So
we do really well vending at different conferences, and we sell a lot of the grow kits there, but we also have an online store. So we ship them out all over the world. It's quite amazing how that has taken off. Yeah. And the best part for me, I think, is hearing the feedback and people just so proud that we're doing this, and the differences that we're making for them. And they're just so excited that they're able to grow their own food. Maybe they don't have acres, maybe they don't have a backyard, just all of those stories really keep me going for sure.
Yeah, because you're providing them a way to grow really nutritious components. So even if all you have is a window box or counter under a window, you don't necessarily even need that.
No, you really don't. I've done it just right on my kitchen counter before, and just the indirect light, they grow perfectly fine.
Yeah, because you're not growing mature plants, you're growing the baby plant essentially. I used to do it in glass jars on my countertop.
And so those are actually sprouts. So it's a little bit different. But yes, so you have the sprout, which is 2 to 5 days, and they're grown in a jar in more of a humid, darker environment. With the microgreens, we grow them in soil. People do hydroponics, but I prefer growing them in soil. They get light, they get airflow, they're beautiful, they're very vibrant in color, and they've got a really bold taste to them as well. So comparable to sprouts, but also different.
I think probably more nutrients because A, they're grown in soil, B, my sprouts were exposed to light, but you get more nutrition when something is grown in soil.
Right.
This is why I don't like hydroponics so much, because you have to put elements of nutrition into the water for them, but it's not the same as all of the elements that are in soil.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's an advantage there. So this is what people are doing, and you don't need grow lights unless you don't have sun.
Correct.
Sufficient. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's been a really, and back to growing and selling the harvested microgreens, my whole family is involved in some way or another with the business. So, and the boys actually
wanted to hear. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. They all have their little jobs, and they could all run the business if I had to be away. They know all aspects of the microgreens side.
And that is another element of homeschooling where they are learning real skills about marketing, about management, and production. Yeah. So that's such a good thing.
They actually were out of stock currently, but they created a mini grow kit. So they kind of worked off of ours, but they made it geared towards kids. It's a smaller kit. Yeah. And they put together a little booklet that is also, it explains how to grow the microgreens. It has some educational pieces to it. And then it's also a coloring book as well. So they really did good at that. So yeah, it's called Little Bros Micros.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Wow. I was so busy, as we all were last weekend, that I didn't get to see anybody's anything. Nothing.
I didn't either. Yes.
I knew that it was the same, I think, for all of us there.
I didn't even get any pictures. I was like,
Me neither.
yes.
I didn't get a single picture, same.
Yeah.
But I wish I would have, because I did actually want to get some stuff from you.
Yeah.
And I wanted to
yeah.
know what all you had. And that idea, that's a good one. I'll have to check out your website, because that might be a good gift for grandchildren.
Yes. Usually during Christmas time, that skyrockets.
I'll
really
bet
good
it
gift for kids.
does.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I'll be looking at that. So
Yeah.
you've got all three aspects going on at home. You're building a beautiful family life, and it's working,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And it's not working with you pulling your hair out or at each other's throats. You're building a beautiful family life together with all
Yes.
of these.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And things, you don't have to be perfect. You know, like you can change things that's not working. Like you don't have just, I don't know, don't put so much pressure on yourself. Just live life together,
Yeah.
and it'll all work out. Cause I
Yeah.
did that first. I put a lot of pressure on myself that everything had to be perfect, or I was feeling them. And, I quickly, like you said, got burnt out, like trying to
Yeah. It's just not doable.
life's not perfect. And, you just live it and enjoy it and love each other and, grow together.
There will always be another mess to clean up.
Sure.
There won't always be another nose to wipe, or another boo-boo to kiss, or just another experience butchering chickens together, where you can tell jokes and laugh and have fun. So
not having to get up in the morning and rush to leave them, and being able to just snuggle in the morning and enjoy,
Yep.
yeah.
I love that. Hey there, who's back there? Hi, Dylan.
Hi.
Hi. We just showed your picture. Should we show him? Oh, here, I'll put it right back
Your
up.
little you know that picture? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, that's a good one. And but we have to show another microgreens shot. Whoops, wrong one. There you go.
Yes.
Even the Frenchie likes microgreens.
Yes. Little Lola.
Is that one of the kid packs? There she is. I always like to see her. I don't know how long you've had her. I just remember meeting her last year, but
yeah, we've had for I think about 5 years.
Yeah, she's pretty cute.
Special. Yeah, yeah.
Good. Dylan, what do you think back there? Is life pretty good?
Yeah. Yeah, he had. What did we do today?
Went to art class with some friends.
Yep.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. And then this evening is Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay, good. That's very good. I'm glad that you get to live this life, Dylan. It's extra special. You know that, don't you?
Yeah.
Yep. It's a good one. Yep. Even if you don't do all the stuff, it's okay. You get to do lots of other stuff that other kids never get to do, like go across the country in an RV and go to conferences, right?
Yeah. So it's so funny. Some of their best friends were met at Doug and Stacy's conference, and so they definitely like going to see their friends.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Well, Malerie, I think we're going to wrap it up, but I'm encouraged by your story and how things are working out for you. Truly, it's a beautiful life.
It really is.
Yeah, it is. And I wish you well in business and in life in general. We'll check back with you at another time and see how things.
Can I say something? Just to encourage everybody that is like scared or nervous. I just know that things don't have to be perfect, and you definitely won't regret. And I'll probably tear up because I always do.
Yeah, that's
Just
good.
being at home with your family.
Yeah. That's everything.
Yeah.
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 I
So we,
understand.
I
I
had
had
I
to
cried
work
with
when
so
Aaron-
many people. I cried with so many people this past weekend of that just to connect with our story, or that want to homeschool their kids. That, and it's so funny because I was like, just talk to me. If you don't have anybody to support you, talk to me, because I'm not that I don't have all the answers. I don't think anybody does, but if it's someone that, if you need support, like, this is the best life that you can live. And I just encourage someone to just do it. So.
I'm with you on that. And I think I would just add to that idea of it doesn't have to be perfect and all of that. You don't have to do things exactly the same as somebody else.
Right.
We can all do things differently. I do remember very clearly that there were a couple of families around us when we were bringing up our kids on the homestead. Families who seemed to have it all together, who always dressed perfectly. They were always clean. They, did really hardcore homeschool studies. Well, one of those families now are split up totally.
Yeah.
Some of the kids have come out maybe okay. Some of them are, I don't know. And I'm not going to go there.
Yeah.
But my point is, we don't have to be like the next family, and we should not even be trying to be perfect.
Right.
I also don't even like the word try. We need to do the best that we can for our family.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean what Jane and Dick are doing over there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Comparisons
will kill us.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. So we don't need to be doing that. But good. Well, thank you. And I wish you continued success with Barefoot Microgreens.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And if anybody wants support, I'm on Instagram a lot. I'm very active on Instagram, Barefoot Microgreens. I talk to more people outside of my town than I do in my town. All over the state, I'm talking to people. Like I said, I help start microgreens businesses. I have homeschool moms that we talk and just support each other. And you just got to find that. Yeah. And you'll get through it.
And you can get through it. And look for homeschooling. You can look for statewide homeschool organizations, and they'll have lists of groups if you want to get involved with local people. There's a lot you can do. We do enjoy going to homeschool conferences as much as we do going to homesteading conferences. They're my favorite things.
Okay, that's actually, we have not done that, so I need to look into that.
Yeah, I would suggest you do, because that is a good place to be, and to bring your business and to bring your insight, and your boys will make even more friends.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a win-win all the way around. But all right. Well, anything else? Or is that anything to add? We have your links in the show description, so everything is there. People can find you easily. Yep. And thank you, Malerie, so much. It's been a joy talking with you. I missed being able to just hang out with you last weekend. So it's nice we can chit chat here, and hopefully others will enjoy our conversation as much as we did.
Yes.
So thank you.
Thank you. Very grateful for being on here with you.
Well, we have enjoyed it too. Thank you. So hang on just a moment here. Hey, everyone. So I am grateful to Malerie for this conversation, as I am with all of our others, and we hope that you'll continue to follow us. We have more good conversations coming up in the weeks ahead. And again, we got this coming up. So get your copy of Eat by Faith. Check it out. You can order from our link, and we'll start that. I'll give you a date, but I think we're going to do it twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. All right, so that's it. Until next time, thank you, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.